My name is Kevin Hoyt. I'm running for Vermont State Governor, and we're going to address the incredible Global Solutions Warming Act. I'm going to use Colleen Harrington's line. It's the most irresponsible piece of legislation I've ever seen in my entire life. It gets kind of cold here in the winter, and I'm not sure how Vermonters are expected to heat. It's going to cost you extra money for your wood stove, your pellet stove, if you want to burn wood or oil. If you like your car, right, your gas-powered car, you can expect gasoline prices to double right off the start. And I think you're probably going to get some sort of a carbon tax for having an automobile. Your average family home, 3-bedroom home, they're talking about you can't sell it until it's upgraded. If you insist on living in your home, which a lot of us like to, again, you're going to have to upgrade this, or you're going to be taxed until it is upgraded. Your average upgrade for a single family home is $25,000 to $30,000. All of our snowmobile riders out there, our motorcycle riders out there, again, it's impossible what these people are asking for. They're calling for an 80% reduction in carbon emissions, and they have no idea of how to do it. And that's the worst part. Our legislators have now passed the buck to the Forestry Service, Fish and Wildlife, all of the other unelected agencies, and they're going to have to come up with the cure. And essentially, it's more money and more taxes off the backs of Vermonters. I disagree with that, and I am anti-green energy.
Hi, my name is Keith Stern. I'm from North Springfield, Vermont, and I'm running as an independent for the Windsor County Senate seat available. There's 3 seats available. We have to eliminate 3 Democrats who voted for this extremely horrible bill. Picture a tub filled with 100 gallons of water. That represents the amount of carbon emissions countrywide. Vermont has 0.1% of the amount. That's 1/10 of 1 gallon out of the 100 gallons of water. Just picture that. When you factor in the amount of carbon dioxide that is absorbed by trees and other plants, Vermont is actually carbon neutral. But the progressives in our legislature ignore the facts because it doesn't fit their agenda. So they passed this Global Warming Solutions Act, the most horrendous and destructive bill in Vermont's history. To come close to achieving its goal, things have to change drastically. All gas engines must go, including snowmobiles, ATVs, motorboats. To achieve this, they will either tax or regulate them out of existence. But even that won't go far enough. We will need tens of thousands of acres in solar panels and mountain views destroyed by wind turbines. But even still, with that, we will need to buy a majority of our energy from fossil fuels. California acted Global Warming Solutions Act in 2006, and it has been bad. Rolling blackouts and the highest energy prices in the country. 2 leading policy experts in California contacted True North Reports to tell them this bill is a big mistake. One of them, Will Swain, had this to say: the bottom line is, welcome to hell. If you want to know what your future is going to look like, take a look at California. This is not the future you want.
I'm still trying to figure out how taxing Vermonters more is going to change the weather of the planet.
Hi, my name's Colleen Harrington, and I'm running for the House of Representatives in Bennington, Vermont, District 2-1. And I'm here to talk about 2 bills, actually. The Global Solutions Warming Act is H688, and the backside of 250 revision for the H962. Both of them working simultaneously, because one is the business end of it, which is 962, and 688, of course, is what's going to affect most of the citizens. And those bills, because of the way they're being passed, they're not telling you, and they're not going to be responsible for the outcome of the bills, which is how the goals are maintained and obtained. And by 2050, you need to be in 80% compliance. 20% of that compliance is us. So everything basically that you use on a day-to-day basis, which is from heating your house to anything you drive, farmers, it's your tractor in the field, your diesel tractors, it's everything will be included in this. And if you don't convert, then you're going to be fined through a carbon tax. And the problem is that all these new bills are just going to be applied to more subcommittees and committees, and more state workers, more state benefits, more state pension funding, more state health care funding, which already Vermont is $9 billion in the hole. $4.5 billion of that alone is pension funding, 1.8 is healthcare funding, and those two accounts alone, I don't know how they would ever reverse this at this point. I don't see how they could do it without going bankrupt. I don't know how they'll be able to pay those pensions. It doesn't seem feasible. And for legislators to pass legislation without telling you how they're going to implement it is irresponsible of every legislator that voted yes on those bills. So again, if you want to be able to keep your home and live in Vermont, then you need to start looking at the issues that apply to everyone on some level. 962 is what businesses are going to have to comply with, and businesses just won't come here because they will be unable to turn a profit, so they'll go elsewhere where they can turn a profit. And it isn't addressed how are trucks coming into the state, cars coming into the state under tourism, how are these people going to be taxed? Or is that going to be more tax on the backs of people who live here? None of these questions are answered, and therefore these bills should not be moving forward, and they need to be repealed. So you need to start calling legislators and tell them that they cannot put these bills in place.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Josinski. I'm running for Windsor County State Senate, and I have a few things I'd like to discuss today about global warming in Vermont, the bill that they just passed. Have you ever heard of the adage, if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there? Well, with the Democratic-led House and Senate, no truer words have ever been spoken regarding the Global Warming Act. If you were in private industry proposing your company this issue, you did not provide the data solution to achieve the company's goals, you would stand a very good chance of being demoted or having a new job. The Vermont bill, as it is written, is encouraging nothing but higher taxes, fees, and burdens to business. The Dems floated the scenario, special interest ideas of carbon tax. That don't go well with voters, so at this time, they proposed a general bill, smoke and mirrors approach. Dems have a history of floating a narrative to see the voters' reaction. Then they send up a trial balloon with dressed up language and see voters' reactions. Finally, they conclude a final language to push a bill like global warming through the way, about the details later. Don't worry about the details, that's their attitude. Case in point, do you remember reading letters to editors and legislators giving statistics, but what they forgot to tell you is the data behind it. They threw out carbon numbers without quantifying them. What's the backup, as we used to say in industry? Supporting your numbers. Example, where is carbon emissions measured? How often? What means used to measure it? So on and so forth. Oh, what impact will it make to your quality of life? in paying for electric bills, gasoline for your car, heating, cooling, cooking. Gee, of all who is financially capable of owning an electric car and installing an electric charging station at your home, aren't contributing to paying Vermont road improvement because they don't buy diesel fuel or gasoline. The last time I checked, it costs the same to register an electric vehicle as it does a diesel or gasoline vehicle. The bottom line is, the Democratic-controlled House and Senate had no solution to present to voters, but we must have this bill passed. Sound familiar? Obama's health care bill, right? You remember when Vermont passed a law on fuel oil tanks? Look at the cost of the replacement oil tank before the bill passed. And then after the bill passed, the cost soared. Because Vermont was chipping in, typically with the government, with their involvement. Is it going to cost you more to ship a package and buy something in Vermont because the carrier is using a fossil fuel vehicle to transport the item into the state and out? Like your oil heat, propane, cooking stove, hot water system, snowmobile, truck, car, four-wheeler, lawnmower, weed whacker, weed trimmer, wood stove, pellet stove, boat, motorcycle, it's all going to go away very fast. There has been no solutions as to what impact this will have on business. Now try and bring in to Vermont higher paying jobs. That's why socialists are pushing for a $15 minimum wage, because no business will relocate to Vermont under social conditions, including family leave, 12 weeks. Really? All we're doing is incentivizing residents to move out of Vermont for the wealthy to take over Vermont. Ever wonder why most kids once graduated don't stay in Vermont? Can't afford to survive. To the native Vermonter, Vermont is known as the survival state. So be prepared to pay higher energy efficiency fees in your electric bill, carbon taxes on fossil fuels, translating to everything you eat or touch is going to cost significantly more. That's why I'm running for the Vermont State Senate. As a Windsor County Senate seat, I'm the taxpayer's voice for common sense, transparency, and change. Thank you for your time.
Again, this is a global warming tax that our legislators have no idea how they're going to implement. It's the single most irresponsible piece of legislation that I've ever seen. We're talking about wood stoves and wood pellets and farm tractors and shipping. You guys like your motorcycles and snowmobiles. We're in trouble here in Vermont State, and it's another tax that Vermonters cannot afford. So I stand opposed. Kevin Hoyt, Vermont State Governor, and Bennington Senate. Thank you.